Houston Dynamo, Portland Timbers, Sporting Kansas, Los Angeles Galaxy,
Pitch Pass,
Toronto FC, Real Salt Lake, Chicago Fire, Columbus Crew, FC Dallas, New York Red Bulls.
Pitch Pass, your all-access credential to the people that matter in MLS. Here's your host, Greg Roche.
Welcome to Pitch Pass. By the way, if you didn't check out last week's show, it was very, very good. We talked with Amanda Stein about the Montreal Impact, one of the more surprising teams in MLS. So download that. I know we had a lot going on last week. You were very, very busy. So download that episode and also all the episodes of the show, pitchpass.com, to get all the information. We don't just do podcasts. We also do some blog posts and things like that as well. Speaking of, let's put out a little call. If you are a up-and-coming writer or somebody who wants to start writing about MLS, we'd love to hear from you. We're looking for people to add to the Pitch Pass staff. So just hit us up on our website, pitchpass.com. Send an email to one of the people behind the scenes. Maybe we'll get you writing for the site. Who knows? Also, if you are downloading through iTunes, thank you very much. Appreciate you subscribing. Tell some friends that they should be subscribing as well. And if you rate the podcast and also leave a comment or two on iTunes, that helps as well, from what I've been told. We got an all-Texas show today. Houston Dynamo midfielder Brad Davis will join us later on. But first, we start in Dallas. BigDSoccer.com is your place to go to find out about one of the other more surprising teams in MLS, FC Dallas. Drew Epperley is the man that runs BigDSoccer.com. He joins us right now on Pitch Pass.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's got to be fun, right? You're covering... But here's the thing. FC Dallas, I think, is having one of the most under-the-radar surprising starts that I can remember, because there are so many other teams that I would assume are more surprising, your TFCs, your Chivas USAs. But at the end of the day, Dallas is the one that's the biggest surprise, because they're actually in first place in their conference right now.
Right. I mean, it's one of those things that, people have been overlooking Dallas for a while. And, a lot of it has to do with the way this team always starts under Shell Simon. They've never done well in the early months of the season. But somehow, some way, this year, they're all healthy, and they're all contributing, and things are just starting to gel at the right time. And, they're leading the league. You can't ask for more right now for a Dallas fan.
You say somehow, some way. Is it just that they are starting this year healthy? What's the history of the team and their slow starts?
Well, I mean, in the past, it's been, either injuries. Like last year was definitely injuries. I mean, that was the story and the headline for the entire season, was that the team was just never healthy enough to do what they were capable of doing. They had the talent, they just could never be on the same page. And the time that they were on the same page was late in the year when they were making a charge, and they just didn't have enough because they hadn't been on the same page for a long enough spell. In other years, it was just they just didn't have the right talent at the right time at the beginning of the year, or it's just they just weren't ready for the season when the season started. But this year, they brought the team together. They got them. They got the right moves. They brought in guys like Kenny Cooper, Eric Hosley. They got in the right young players, like a London Woodbury. He's starting to contribute minutes. And so they started to form pretty early, and they've done some different stuff during the week. I've read things and been told that players are sticking around a whole lot more during the week after training for video sessions, for rehab sessions, which is something they never did before in the past. And that kind of stuff, those little team cohesion things, are really making a big difference. And I can honestly say, out of the few years I've been in Dallas covering this team, I've never seen this group with a better chemistry than I've seen right now. I mean, the guys just seem to attract to one another and really be happy around one another. And I haven't really seen them that happy since they were at MLS Cup back in 2010.
We're always going to talk about depth as long as there's a salary cap, and the salary cap is where it's at. I talked to Amanda Stein last week, who covers the Impact, and my fear for that team was, as far as their hot start was concerned, is that the age of the club would factor into injuries at some point over the course of the season. You can never account for injuries, but I don't feel that that's as big an issue for Dallas, because the base of their team is pretty young and pretty much in their prime. Right.
I mean, they went through that whole injury spell last year, like I said, and this year it seems like they brought in some youth and some guys with good experience, like Woodbury, and then you got Stephen Kill. They brought in from New York, and as far as defensively goes, the depth is there. The question's always been, do they have enough depth in the midfield to withstand some big injuries like a David Ferrer going out again, or even, a Jackson or a Fabian Castillo going out for an extended spell. And right now, that's still my big question mark. I mean, I know they have Ramon Nunez. He's signed. He's in camp. He's working out. He's still getting healthy. And maybe once he's 100%, the depth questions will kind of subside a little bit, I think, for most people, especially if Nunez can come out and start contributing once he gets healthy. But, like you said, the depth is there, and the team is younger, and just they're clicking better because of it.
I talked with Kenny Cooper. I can't remember if it was just before the season started or maybe just after the first match. And the thing that I brought up to him was, because a lot of people were saying, well, he's not going to do as well without Henry. And my thought was, that's ridiculous. He's got David Ferreira, who is going to provide as much as he needs. How much of this start is on the fact that you've got a healthy former MVP who is back in form now?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, the team, the reason why Shella Simon made him captain is because the team is so much better with him than without him. I mean, you can see it right now. When he's on the ball, things just happen for this team, and he's contributed, a majority of their goals this season. He's been a part of them, either, setting up the free kick like in Toronto this past weekend. He caused the foul that set up the first goal. That was a free kick. And before that, he's got, I believe, 3 assists on the season. And he's just making a difference, and not just when he's got the ball on his feet, but he pushes the other guys. Like, you got Castillo and you got Jackson on the wings with him. When they're on the field together, he's pushing those guys to do more and do better. And you're just seeing a bigger effort out of the players because of him. And having him healthy is just, mind-blowing change from where it was this time last year, because they didn't have him. They didn't have that leader on the field that was healthy and that was pushing them and giving them that drive to do more on the ball and off the ball.
How big of a surprise has Jackson been this year? And the only reason I ask is just because it seems as if he's been tried a number of different positions, and now he's finally settled in the midfield. You're seeing, for fantasy purposes at least, that's how I'm following him, one of the top producers in the league.
Yeah, Jackson's one of those guys, and we've talked about it here in Dallas for a couple of years since we've had him, that when he's got his head on straight and that there's nothing distracting him, he is a fun guy to watch because he can do a lot with a little. And when he's distracted, like we've seen in the past, he doesn't do well. But this year, it seems like everything is just aligned properly. He's training well. He's working hard on and off the ball. I mean, you can see it in training. He wants to be there, and he wants to do well, and it's paying off huge, obviously. I mean, I got him on my fantasy team, too, and I'll be honest, it's paid off very nicely. I wish a couple weeks ago I had made him a captain when he had like 14 points. I mean, that would have been huge.
And then looking at the other side of midfield, I would assume that people are happy with Castillo and his performance, but are they happy if you take into account, and I know a lot of people give me grief when I bring in DP and what DP expectations are, but as a DP, I always think that you do have some sort of bigger added responsibility to carry a load. And do you feel that he's carrying a DP level load, or is he just a really good member of the team?
Honestly, I kind of think people forget that he's a DP because he's a young DP.
Yeah.
By technicality, he came in. His salary is definitely not as a DP. It was just the transfer fee made him become a DP. And early on, I think there were expectations. Oh, is he going to contribute? Is he actually going to bring those flashes of brilliance that we read about and seen highlights from Brazil or Colombia about? And early on, not really, but now, he's had a couple years and he's had a couple seasons to kind of get acclimated, and he's finally, you can tell he's settled here in the States. He loves Dallas, and he loves being around guys like David Ferreira, and that's, again, it's a huge point that he's got such a good mentor to look up to in Ferreira, and he can kind of see where his career could go if he plays the right cards. And, right now, there's not a lot of expectations for him to go out and score every game because he's a DP. People love here that he can be the super sub for the team off the bench, or even just the guy that's going to contribute 70 or 80 good minutes because he's going to work the other team to death with his speed. And that speed, I tell you, is just electric to watch. We love watching him on and off the ball here, and we've seen some good goals because of it.
Let's talk about Eric Hostley for a minute. Where is he at? His injury situation, his status on the team. Why hasn't he featured more?
Well, Hadley's been a very interesting situation. It's kind of a tough read, too. He's got both Kenny Cooper and Blas Perez above him. He did come in a little bit banged up from Toronto, and the team, honestly, they've admitted a few times, they didn't really have his full history when they brought him in. They knew about him. They knew what he brought to the table, but they didn't have his full background as far as medical goes and what his right weight was, which has been something they've been talking about lately, is getting into the right playing weight for him. He's a big dude. I mean, he's a tall guy, and he's muscular, and he's stout. I mean, he's a big guy, especially if you see him in person. You know you're in front of him. And the team they had to get a good sense for a while of what they needed him to be at. And I think they're finally getting him right to that point where they're at the ideal weight. And once they figure out, okay, we can use this guy in these situations, it'll start to play a little bit more, especially down the road when Perez is out with Panama. I mean, they know that that's coming up in the next couple of months. So he's going to get his playing time for sure.
So basically, if I heard the end of what you're saying correctly, it's just a matter of let's get this guy ready so that over the summer, when we need him, he's healthy and in the form that he needs to be in. Yeah,
that's pretty much how I see it. I mean, there might be other thoughts and process around town, but that's how I've kind of viewed it ever since they brought him in, because they knew he wasn't going to be 100% for opening day, and he definitely wasn't. And even till today, I would say he's at like 90%. He's played some minutes. He's played some reserve game minutes, but he's just not quite at 100% where he would probably like to be. I know he's told me he's not exactly where he would like to be just yet, but I'm thinking, by June, he'll be there, and he'll definitely be getting the minutes at that point.
It's interesting to hear you say that Dallas didn't really comprehend his medical records or didn't have the full story on his medical history before they acquired him, because that seems to me as if something that is common knowledge that, he had trouble staying on the field in Vancouver. He had trouble staying on the field in Toronto, and you'd think a team that was acquiring him knew that the reason you would get him for whatever you got him was because of his medical history. Yeah,
it was kind of an interesting quote when I believe it was Sheldon Simon that kind of mentioned it. He was a little casual comment saying, hey, we didn't quite have the full story, which you kind of wonder he kind of left it at that. So you kind of wonder, okay, did they know more about his MLS injuries, or was it just they didn't know what was prior to MLS? So there's still some context that probably hasn't been said, and that might not even be said, because they might not want to release things that they do or do not know. So that's just where it was.
Looking at the team as an outsider, there are a lot of guys on the team that you go, okay, of course Perez is going to be producing. He has produced in the league. Kenny Cooper. I think the whole back line is kind of a given, or as much of a given as you can say it is for this league. There are a couple of positions I want to ask you about and just kind of know if this is real or if this is a guy playing above his head or a guy who we might not be able to count on to keep this form all season. First one would be Andrew Jacobson.
Yeah, I tell you, I've been covering this guy for a few years now. I saw him when he was in Philly, when he was in D.C., and it was always one of those guys that you thought, okay, he's got the ability, and it's just a matter of time before he puts it all together. I think this is the year he's finally putting it together. These last couple games, I've never seen him play at the level that he's been playing. Just both sides of the ball, he's been really dominant. I mean, in Toronto, I really felt that was probably his best game since he's been in MLS, just because he had both sides of the ball. He was commanding. He was dominant. He made good decisions. He didn't mess up like we've seen him do in the past, and he got a goal. I mean, you can't ask for more out of a defensive kind of holding midfielder to score a goal as emphatically as he did. I mean, that was a nice little hammer on the free kick that he scored, but it's kind of interesting to see him, this season. He's got 2 goals to his name. That's double. He's basically doubled his goal tally in MLS this season alone. So I think he's a guy that's definitely going to keep it up long term, as long as he stays healthy. He has brought up some injuries in the past, but as long as he stays healthy, I think is a guy that definitely can contribute all season like he has been.
And I read on your site, and this is probably when Daniel was still writing for you guys, it was preseason, was the trying of he and Warshaw together. What's the latest with that? How is that going?
Well, now he's partnered up with a newcomer to the team. It's actually a guy they brought in back in preseason, a left back, but they've converted him into a central midfielder. His name is Michel. And this guy, it was a little bit of we're all kind of like, okay, he's going to put him in the midfield. But I tell you, he and Jacobson, after a couple of games, you can see the partnership growing and working. And Michel's just been a revelation, not just on the free kick side for FC Dallas, but just in terms of his distribution and allowing Jacobson to kind of be that force in the midfield. He knows that he's got Michel around him to be able to gobble up balls. And the defense behind them, they know that those two guys have it covered, which is a big key thing for them because they know that there's some speed in this league. And they, in my opinion, they have a little bit of an issue covering speed. But when those guys are in front of them, they know that those guys are going to lock down some of that speed, at least slow them down. Like we saw against Real Salt Lake a few weeks ago. They had Robbie Finley and João Plata, two really quick guys on the attack. And, those two guys, Michel and Jacobson, they were able to really just contain them really nicely in the midfield. And Salt Lake really never was able to use those speed guys up front to really pressure the Dallas back line.
I want to talk about the keeper situation. I don't want to say Fernandez has been shaky. That's overstating it. But he definitely doesn't fill me with confidence in the times that I've seen him play. And with Seitz on the roster, with I would assume the keeper of the future, Sanchez, on the roster, how settled is the keeper situation right now? And how often would we see the other two guys for Dallas this season?
Well, I think for now, it's basically Fernandez's job to lose. I don't think he's done enough yet to lose it to Seitz. But on the flip side, he's going to be splitting time with Seitz because he's going to have to go away for World Cup qualifiers with Peru. So Seitz will get his minutes, and basically as long as Chris doesn't completely screw it up when he gets those minutes, he'll continue to get those minutes because on the same side, Richard Sanchez, he's going to be missing time with the Mexican, I believe it's U20s this summer. So, Dallas actually has 5 keepers on their roster right now because of all the World Cup stuff going on. They got Sanchez. They signed another young Mexican national team keeper in Jesse Gonzalez recently. And then they got Kyle Zobek, a kid that they got in the supplemental draft. It actually looked pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Zobek before we see Sanchez, if it comes down to it.
Well, I want to be delicate about this, but it was a great story last year with Seitz and the bone marrow transplant, and it was awesome. But if we go strictly by his on-field performance, he's got a lot to prove to prove that he is an MLS starting caliber goalkeeper.
Yeah, he does. But I tell you, this season alone, especially in preseason, and even the one game that he had against Salt Lake, I can tell you he's looked miles better than he ever has, physically and mentally, and just altogether. His aura, his sense of presence on the field, it just appears better and it looks better. And plus, the guy's he's on cloud 9 right now. His fiance just had their first girl, so he's a father now, and you can tell the guy's just beaming with confidence, and that goes a long way when he's playing on the field.
Let's look ahead before I let you go to the next match, and it's against Los Angeles Galaxy. Dallas ahead of Los Angeles right now. Galaxy sitting in third, but I would assume it's still a match that people in Dallas have circled and saying, if we want to show everyone that this is a team that deserves to be where it's at, we need to take care of business. We need to take care of business at home. Yeah,
and honestly, LA was the last team to beat Dallas at home, which was last, I believe, August. So fans here always get up for the Galaxy games, and it would be a good one, too, because it should be Landon Donovan's first game in MLS with the Galaxy, starting-wise. I know he got in the Toronto game, but I would imagine he will start in Dallas on Saturday. And it's a big one. I mean, even though there's no David Beckham anymore, fans still realize that the Galaxy are the Galaxy. I mean, they're a 2-time MLS champion, and I'm fairly certain this game will be pretty packed in the stands. I mean, people still know who the Galaxy are, and keeping that Western Conference lead is huge, and the club knows it. And, LA's they played a couple less games than Dallas, but this is still early enough in the year that Dallas will get up for this game, and it should be a battle. I mean, LA is not going to back down, even if they use their full strength in Monterey tomorrow night. Bruce Arena is not going to let go here that easily.
Drew Epperley, BigDSoccer.com is the website. You guys do a great job. I thank you for coming on.
Oh, I appreciate you having me.
And that's no blowing smoke either. If you are a fan of MLS, start broadening your horizons to not just your favorite team, but other teams as well. That's a great place to start if you want a good, unbiased opinion of FC Dallas. BigDSoccer.com. We're going to stay in Texas for our next guest. He is a little more into the league. In fact, he is, for a lot of people's money, one of the best players in MLS. He is Houston Dynamo midfielder Brad Davis, and he joins Pitch Pass right now. Brad, how are you?
I am doing well.
I'm not going to lie to you, Brad. It's a little bit difficult preparing to have a conversation with you.
Why? Bobby Boswell told me you're from Philly, but you're living in D.C. Philly's that bad, huh?
Now, see, I like that you're throwing the barbs out right away. See, that's good. But here's
he told me I had to watch out, though. You were witty and you were going to come back, so I might as well get it out of the way early.
Here's the problem. I go to start looking for some interesting tidbits about Brad Davis on the internet. I type in Brad Davis. You're like the sixth Brad Davis that comes up.
Apparently I'm pretty good at playing music, but if you came to me and handed me a guitar or something, you'd notice that I'm not.
Brad, it's not just music, it's Christian country music. That's what you're good at.
Well, man of many talents, I guess.
And I didn't see first of all, the Brad Davis, the actor, died over 20 years ago. And the only thing I know him for is Chariots of Fire, but apparently he was in a couple other big things as well. And he still gets top billing over you.
I don't know anything about that one. I'm sure there's Brad Davises that were born in the past couple of years that get top billing.
So I'm just thinking to myself, how is one of the best players in MLS fly so far under the radar as far as the internet? Because I have a feeling just like a Brad Davis who works at a pizza place in Albuquerque, New Mexico might get ranked higher than you in a Google search. I don't understand how you do it.
I don't know, man. I don't worry about that stuff, to be totally honest. I know I'm pretty lucky I get to play soccer for a living, do pretty well at it, so surrounded by good people, so I can't really complain if my name's not on the internet.
No, I feel you. I'm in my head, I think to myself, oh, you must be in some sort of witness protection program, and even though you're on TV every week, you keep such a low profile that they're like, hey, put him in the witness protection program, make him a professional soccer player. That's awesome.
I just have to keep my mind on soccer. If I got too much other stuff going on, and my wife tries to keep me in the witness protection plan as much as possible.
Well, let's talk about some of the stuff that's happening on the field. You guys are in line to continue your home unbeaten streak against Chicago Fire. Apparently, obviously, they have a lot of payback they want to give to you. How much do you guys talk about that streak in the locker room? Is it a thing where it was like a LeBron, where they were talking about their streak all the time and it wasn't important? Or is it the other way where you guys don't even really talk about it? It's just a go out and win the next game situation?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, to be totally honest. With the guys, like, we honestly have not mentioned it. I mean, even Dom at the end of the last game was like, I know we haven't talked a lot about it, but you guys tied the record. Congratulations. It's something to be really proud of. And honestly, that was that. This has more been a media-driven event. To be totally honest, I wouldn't even have known, like, Salt Lake had 34 games unbeaten and had the record. I knew they had the record, but I didn't know exactly how many games it was. It just wasn't on our mind. We're just playing to play. And now that we've gotten there, it's been kind of more of a media-driven thing, but I mean, it is something to be proud of. It means that we're protecting our house, so to speak, and we're doing well at home. And that's what you want to do. If you can win your games at home throughout the year, you have a very good chance of making the playoffs. So we take a lot of pride in playing in front of our fans. We got some great fans, and we just want to keep it going.
How awesome has it been moving into BBVA Compass? And I asked that question just as a DC United guy who looks at all these new stadiums and just goes, oh, I can't wait for that day.
Did you just you're a DC United guy?
I am.
You're not a Union guy.
No, because the Union didn't exist when I lived in Philly. I left Philly in 2001, so there was no such thing as a Philadelphia Union.
All right.
You were gonna give me some crap about a Union, huh?
Oh yeah, if you're from Philly, I mean that's like me being from St. Louis and claiming the Astros over the Cardinals. That's never going to happen.
No, that's true. But say 5 years from now, St. Louis gets an MLS team. And let's just say you were an impartial fan of soccer. Would you then all of a sudden adopt St. Louis as your team, or would you stay with the team that you have been living in and have kind of gotten behind?
Man, I would have to. I would definitely be a St. Louis supporter. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, because you have you have no history with the team because it wasn't there when you left St. Louis.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, I would definitely. It would be hard. That's for sure. I don't know how I'd be. I hope they do get one though. It'd be kind of cool.
That would be very cool. And going to Union, they're another team with a brand new stadium. So it goes back to my question of how awesome is it being at BBVA Compass and having a place of your own.
It's unbelievable, to be totally honest. I went, this is my 12th year in the league, so I went 10 years without having a place like a stadium to call my own. So that when it opened last year, it was absolutely awesome. I mean, the emotions and everything running in that game, and sorry to say, DC happened to be our home opener and scored in that game, so sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, you got to do what you got to do, Brad.
No, man, but it's seriously, it's a great stadium. It's awesome. Everybody that's come and seen it and playing it, besides the weather, it can be pretty brutal here sometimes, but it's a great stadium.
Well, you bring up the weather. That was my next question about the stadium and about Houston in general. Everybody says how much of an advantage it is for you guys to play, have teams come to Houston and play, especially in the middle of summer. It has no effect on you guys at all, though?
No, it definitely does. I mean, to be totally honest, I don't think people think about the fact that we're in it every single day. Yeah. Like, I would almost, as a player, want to come. It's like going to altitude or something like that. It crushes us because we're not used to it. But as a player, the weather, altitude is a little bit different, I guess, because I don't mind going and playing in altitude, but we're losing 6-7 pounds every single day and have to be in the heat every single day, then play on the weekend. And as a player, I almost want to think that, you know what, let's just go wear this for 90 minutes. It's going to suck. Yeah. It's going to be terrible, but let's just grind this out for 90 minutes and get the hell out. Well, that's pretty much how I would think about, coming here. So people don't think about we train it every single day. We can only practice an hour and 15 minutes before. I mean, guys, it's really difficult.
And do you have to have practice at like 6:30 a.m. before the?
That doesn't. To be totally honest, it doesn't matter. It's so steamy sometimes that honestly, it really doesn't matter.
Well, so let me ask you this, because it's an interesting point. What do you guys do to prepare differently, I guess, than other teams because of where you live and where you play? Do you have to do a certain amount of water intake every day?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is teams don't come down here and hydrate well enough. Hydrate and eat properly, because you're burning so many more calories down here in the heat and getting dehydrated so much quicker. And having like a proper plan, even all throughout the game. As far as hydration goes like that, and, just a proper eating method. It took me 4 years probably to figure out a proper way that I felt good during games and could get through games and really do it the correct way.
I wanted to ask you about the Horst injury. It's kind of leg injuries are in the news because of what happened in the tournament, the basketball tournament, and the players on the court's reaction. You were in a similar situation this past weekend. As a player, how do you refocus after seeing something like that? And what was your initial reaction as you're on the field?
I didn't see it exactly when it happened. I just saw like a collision of bodies kind of go down, and then the ball went out of bounds or whatever, and I kind of turned and followed that, and I looked back, and I just see Giles standing over waving like their trainer, and that's never a good thing when you have a teammate that's standing there and you're automatically waving the trainer over. You kind of know it can't be really good, and then seeing seeing the replay of it, it's never a good sign. You always wish the guy, the best, but we sign up for this. It's part of the job. It happens. Everybody kind of goes through it. If you don't have an injury at some point during your soccer career, then you're doing something wrong. So it's never a good thing, but you just kind of have to shove it off and move along. So and you think about it after the game.
And what's the hardest part? The delay, the seeing the guy in pain, or the oh boy, there but for the grace of God go I kind of situation?
No, it's more for the person in pain because you kind of know, depending on what it is, kind of what it feels like, what he's going through. You hope that it's not going to be a bad injury where you're out, because you're out there battling, and everybody's playing hard and stuff, but you never want to see somebody get injured to where they can't play, So it's at that moment, it's kind of one of those things like, man, please, let him be all right.
Yeah.
Type of deal.
I wanted to talk to you about Azteca, and first the roller coaster ride that you were on leading up to that, going from not being on the roster to being on the roster but not dressing to all of a sudden now I'm one of the 3 subs being called off the bench in the biggest qualifier, at least from American fans, that you can have. Describe those gamut of emotions as you went from not getting the call to getting the call to being on the field at Azteca.
Yeah, that whole week was kind of like a whirlwind week because I was in like the final roster, and then I was called and I was told that I wasn't in the final roster, and then I got a call during the Dallas. We were playing Dallas in the afternoon. Got a call saying, did you bring your stuff? Are you ready to go?
Oh man.
So after the game, I get a voicemail, I had to check, and I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. And then they actually called and were like, all right, no, we're good. We don't need you.
Oh,
and the next day.
Wait. So you said they gave you the courtesy call of, hey, just want to let you know you're not on the roster. Then you go out and play, and during the match, they call you and leave a voicemail?
The team coordinator or whatever. Was asking if I brought my stuff to Dallas, so I was ready to go. I was like, I didn't bring my stuff, but I am ready to go.
I can go, yeah.
I'll buy clothes if I have to. So then he was like, all right, well, when he makes a decision or whatever, we'll give you a call back if you're going to be coming. Never got a call, so obviously didn't make the final roster there. And then I got a call the following day saying, all right, well, you're coming in. And I was like, all right. So I headed to...
Well, wait, Brad, at any point, did you flash back to your single days and feel like this was a girl that you liked that kept kind of stringing you along, and at one point you were just like, you know what? I'm just going to ignore the call. I'm going to ignore the call.
Oh, no chance was I ignoring that call. I'd be an idiot to ignore that call. So, no, but it was crazy. But, I knew what I was going there. I was going there as a role for a player that was struggling injury-wise a little bit, and that's what it was. They were up front with me, and they wanted to bring me in just in case they couldn't go. So that's why I went. But I knew going in there that obviously you're still on the radar, and talked with Jurgen. He had some great things to say, and he's like, just keep it going. You've been doing real well, and Mexico's a whole new story. We're really happy we brought you in. And I knew it. I told my wife, I was like, since January, I haven't got a chance to play yet, and I know I have a feeling I'm going to go to Mexico and get thrown into the lion's den immediately.
Well, let me ask you. Let me ask you first about Costa Rica. Where did you watch that match?
I watched it upstairs inside in like a heated room, and my wife and my kid and my parents watched it outside in the snow.
Brad, come on!
I didn't know they were out there. My wife called me. I go down in the stands at halftime and grab them. They got like 4 inches of snow on their head, and I brought them upstairs.
Wait, how old is your kid?
Well, my daughter didn't go there, but my son was there, and he's 3.5.
See, wait, a 3.5-year-old...
You can probably hear him yelling right now.
A 3.5-year-old kid you've got out in a blizzard while you're up toasty and warm in some press box watching the match.
Yeah, man, he was tucked in tightly under Mom's jacket, under my wife's jacket and coat and blankets. He was playing a game on her iPhone, so he was totally good.
All right, so you watch.
I didn't know the rules about bringing people up, my family up to the press box, and I wasn't about to try and start breaking rules. So,
well, no, Brad. Far be it from you to actually go down there and stand with them. If you're the only one allowed up there, you're the only one allowed up there.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to stand in the stands with fans and all that going on. So, but at halftime, I was like, all right, I got to get him up.
Come on up here. So in 30 years, when you tell the story, will you be on the field, frozen solid, watching stoically as your team was trying to grind out a victory?
Will I be on the field?
Yeah, when you tell the story.
Oh, when I tell the story.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be the one that scores.
All right, so all that happens. You guys immediately get on a plane and head off to Mexico. At any point, does Klinsmann say to you, I mean, I know he's telling everybody, be ready, be ready, be ready, but you've got to think, I didn't dress for this match, so he probably has given me some lip service. At any point, did he talk to you and say that, yeah, there's a likelihood that you're going to play in this match?
He never said that you're going to play, but when I talked to him before the Costa Rica game, he was just like, keep going, Mexico's a whole different animal, and we were just talking back and forth, and he was like, you're doing a good job. I know you're going to get the opportunity, but he never said this is the game, you're going to get the opportunity. So I still looked at it as I was dressing, I was going, I was prepared to play if I needed to play. I just had that gut feeling that going to Azteca against Mexico in a World Cup qualifier, for some reason I just had a feeling that he was going to throw me in there, and he did, which is good. It means he's got faith in me.
So I know you're 31 years old. You're a veteran, but
you don't have to say that on the air.
Oh,
right?
Sorry. I'm going to edit that right out there. You're a veteran, but have you ever been in a situation, as far as nerves are concerned, as you were on the touchline waiting to check in as the team is kind of desperately clinging to a point at Azteca?
To be totally honest, I really wasn't super nervous. The nerves come because you want to you want to perform well and you want to do well and all that stuff. But my mentality was you haven't been a World Cup qualifier, but you played a lot of games. You've had a lot of experiences. Just go out and do what you're good at. Whatever the team needs you to do, just go out and do your best. And it kind of sounds cliche and dumb, but it gets you through it. You're just trying to do your best. I think it's more excitement. I mean, that's the biggest stage right there than nerves. Getting that opportunity. So I mean, it was highlight of my career. Being able to represent your country in a World Cup qualifier. There's no reason to be nervous about it. There's a reason to be excited about it. And that's kind of how I look at it. So
before we look ahead, I want to ask you, and I hope that you will think about it and give me your gut reaction to this. And the question is, because a lot of people have written, even all through last year, well, maybe Brad Davis's time has passed as far as being in the mix for the U.S. national team. At any point, even just for a few minutes, did you think to yourself, yeah, I might not be able to get back in?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
After what was it, 2000? I think it was 2011. I was up for the MLS Cup MVP, and I didn't get that, but I was injured in the semifinal against Kansas City, and I think that I was going to be called into the January camp after that, and that was kind of my shot. New coach, new opportunities, and didn't get called in all of last year or whatever, and I told people asking me all the time, when do you think you're going to get a call? Do you think you're going to get a call? I was like, you know what? I'm not worried about it anymore. I got to focus on the Dynamo. I can't worry about that stuff, and if it comes, it comes. But I'm not planning on it. And I honestly, didn't think it was coming. Did not think it was going to happen, and went home for Christmas this past off season. Was there for about 2 days and got an email saying, guess what? In a week, you're coming to California. So for January camp. So I was very surprised, but also very excited.
So now we can look ahead, and you talked about excitement rather than nerves when playing against Mexico and Azteca. Is it the same feeling thinking about the upcoming qualifiers, where it's a matter of, okay, I hope I get called in. I hope I play. To now, it's excitement to go, I know I have a place on this team. The coaches acknowledge that by putting me in that situation. And as long as I keep doing what I'm doing, there's a real chance for 2014 if everything goes the way that we hope it does.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's part of the situation is getting called in. That tends to. It's not the easy part, but it really is the easy part of doing good things, getting called in, getting that opportunity. The hardest part about that is going there and proving day in and day out on a consistent basis that you belong there and you need to keep your spot on that team. Because there's plenty of guys in line that can come in and do a very good job. So that's really the hardest part. But, I look forward. I know my name's on that radar, but the biggest thing I have to concentrate on is the club team and taking care of club business and being consistent day in and day out. And if I get that opportunity again, go there and make the most of it each time. There's no guarantees with that roster. If you look back at it, I don't think we've had the same starting 11 in 24, 25 games or something. So there's an opportunity there for a lot of guys still. I'm
going to ask you one question for the analysis part, and that is Boniek Garcia, Will Bruin. Did they practice today?
They did some stuff on the side. They're just being real cautious with those guys. It's early on in the season. Those guys are very important to us, and it's not something you want to continue to re-aggravate, injuries early on in the year like that. So they just want to make sure they're going to be 100%, and that's not a question I can answer honestly right now.
But I'm sure, especially from your perspective, those two guys, the last few years have really lightened the load from you to be the offense, not even just the catalyst, but the offense. It was always, if Brad Davis is on, then they have a chance. If he's off, then it's going to be dicey. With those two guys in the lineup, it's not always everything is on you.
No, it's not. We have we've had quite a few different guys step up, and without a doubt, Oscar and Will have been a couple of those guys. This year, Giles Barnes has come in and started and played really well for us. So it's great. I think we have a very good team this year. For me, I don't care who comes to the team as long as they're going to help, and those guys have come to this team and done a great job and helped us out tremendously. So I'm extremely excited that they're with us. And if people want to say if it lightens my load or whatever, it doesn't change my mentality. I still go out and try and do what I have to do to help my team win. You
mentioned Bobby Boswell. I asked him. Hey, you got something? You got something for me for Brad? Because like we said, you've been under the radar. Your Wikipedia page, Brad. By the way, when they sum up your professional career. This could be
scary. I haven't even read it.
It's not scary. It's literally 6 lines, and one of it was in 2005, Davis did this, and then the next paragraph is following the 2011 season. And I'm like, wait a second, he played 6 years in between, and there's no mention of anything that happened.
It's a witness protection program.
Exactly. I almost want to say that you called up Klinsman and outed yourself as a sleeper cell CIA operative and said, if you don't call me in, then I'm going to blow the whistle and have you deported.
I don't know, man. For some reason, I've been one of those guys that is kind of flown under the radar. But you know what? It doesn't bother me. I'm a country kid. I'm a quiet guy. It doesn't bother me whatsoever.
Here's what I have from Boswell. He said that you always eat unhealthy food and have some sort of spin as to how it actually is healthy for you.
Are you sure Bobby's not quoting himself?
So that's not you. You're not one of those guys who eats a slice of pizza and goes, "What? It's got tomato in it."
Oh, pizza! Come on. That's it's like pasta. It's Italian. That's good. That's good to eat before the game.
It's good carbs. Good fuel.
It's Italian. It's Italian, so it's got to be like pasta.
So you are the guy with the healthy spin on the unhealthy food. See?
Oh, like cookies, man. Those are like
yes.
Those are protein pucks. So yeah, Tally Hall and I kind of mess around like that. Definitely, I used to eat way worse than I do now. Let me put it that way. I don't eat bad at all. But I do like to joke around about something sometimes.
Brad, thank you so much for walking us through the story of the last couple of weeks as far as your national team stuff. I thought that was fantastic, and thank you for checking in, and we appreciate you being on the show.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Pitch Pass.
This is your voice. This is my red, white, and blue. This is my anthem to you.
For more show information, go to pitchpass.com.